News Now.
Everybody, and welcome to Nerd News Now. We are going to kind of wing it tonight because it's kind of interesting. I've heard this. This is also the problem with interviews for today, is that we always have a bunch of interviews on Mondays, but it looks like there were a lot of conventions this weekend, and that a lot of the creators are still on their way back or just got back and are exhausted. So maybe that's a good thing. Yeah, it's the same for everyone. Everyone's super busy right now, which is a good thing. If retailers are busy and creators are busy, it means that things are going at least kind of well for our industry, which is awesome. How about, was your store busy this weekend, Brainy?
We had a Magic the Gathering pre-release this weekend, so it and we've been, we haven't done in-store tournaments since the pandemic started. So, a lot of the Magic players were really wanting to do one. So we did one Friday night. We had fun doing it. It's still a little bit uncomfortable having. We had a dozen people there, so a little uncomfortable, but still, it was fun to do that.
I just figured you guys would just open up the back door and like do it out in the behind your store.
We have done that before. In fact, the restaurant next to our place used to have a tent, and we made an agreement. Hey, if you guys extend the tent over, you've seen other space, so
yeah, of course, yeah. No one's fitting in that right now.
Well, so they had extended it out a couple of weeks ago. They basically took their tents off, and we were going to use their tents to do tournaments. But a couple of weeks ago, they took their tents out, and we're like, "Oh my god, why? We could have used those."
Oh, they just like don't have them at all anymore?
Yeah, they took them out. I don't know whether it was somebody complained or whether, not 100% certain, but yeah, those tents are gone, which is a little disappointing.
That was because it was a sweet little setup. I liked that back there. It felt like it was real nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, did you guys have any conventions near you this weekend, right?
Not that I'm aware of. I think it was the previous weekend.
Was that San Diego?
No, I think that was WonderCon. Wasn't that WonderCon that just happened recently?
Mm-hmm. But then there was another San Diego something this weekend, I thought. Comics Expo or something.
I don't know. It might have been. I might have completely missed it. It was a weekend with family for me, so.
Oh, me too. I got to take a weekend off because I'm a little bit. It's one of those things. I love getting to have a time off every once in a while, but when I come back, I feel real discombobulated.
Yeah.
Which is
exactly.
Amazing.
Hey, it's always good to spend time with family, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was actually a little bit disappointed because I had Saturday off, which is such a rarity. But I told my husband I have Saturday off. He was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I already made plans to have lunch with our son, which I'm never going to get in the way of that, right? That's always really nice."
Yep.
So I got secretly inside. I was super disappointed, but man, he went to go have lunch with him, and then when he came home, he was like, "All right, I'll pop up in the car." And they took me on this really cool adventure. So he knows how to make up for that.
That's cool. That is awesome.
Which I found an alien life form.
Yes.
Did you see the picture?
I did see the picture.
Okay, so what's crazy is that Allison Sampson knew exactly who the artist was because I didn't know. I could just see it over the fence. And I was like, it's huge, this sculpture.
It is.
And it turns out it is this person that she said it was. And I looked up that person and that sculpture, and there aren't very many of them that exist, but it's like a $43 million sculpture sitting in their front yard.
Wow.
$43 million.
Huh. So are we putting together a team to go steal that and put it in our backyard?
What's so cool is that I don't know how many of them are out and about. The pictures I saw were of two versions of it. One is kind of like this tall version that has like an egg sac on it, kind of like a big spider. And then there's one that's like crouching spider. The crouching spider one I've seen, they put it in water and it looks even creepier, man. It just looks like an alive thing. I love it. If I could afford one, I was thinking about, man, maybe I should save my money up and I'll get one until I found out how much it was. I was like, yeah. I mean, I could get how many Action Comics #1s in
Right.
98 for that?
Exactly.
I can't freak people out by thinking there's an alien invasion going on in my front yard, but
Well, you can always get a copycat feed.
all right. So speaking of things that happen at conventions this weekend, I understand that there was some trouble with the convention that was supposed to go off in Calgary.
In what sense?
It might be of just related to one publisher, but I guess that they were supposed to have all of their stuff there way in advance, like they shipped it out forever ago. But they found out once they got there, like they had their whole team there when they found out that it was not going to be arriving until Monday, which is not what you want to hear when you've planned to have your whole troop there to sell things on the weekend, which is when the con is.
Yeah, absolutely understandable. And that this isn't the first time something like that has happened. It's happened quite a few times. So but right now, they just have a great excuse.
It's got to be the worst feeling ever when you're like, that money you cannot get back.
Absolutely.
I don't think you have. There's a insurance against.
Well, it's also hard to. It's also hard to justify what the cost would be.
Yeah, just in case if it happens once in a lifetime, that could be crippling.
Correct.
I was trying to think of, well, like, how could you pivot from that if you're in another country? I don't know how you pivot from such things.
Well, I'm sure, I hope they made the best of it and, just went sightseeing and whatnot.
Maybe.
At least enjoy their stay there. But you're right. That's a cost you cannot make up from. You've got your entire staff there that you got to pay for. The hotels, travel, and the merchandise that's either going to be, sitting in your warehouse for God knows how long.
Oh yeah, it's like extra. It's probably extra stuff you bought too, and so now, unless you come up with an extra convention to go to, I guess. Yep. Just is unsold stuff.
Yep.
I'm sure they had variants that were made specifically for the event, and it's tough. That's tough, especially when we're in the middle of like paper shortage and transportation shortage and staff.
Exactly.
Shortage.
Yeah. Hopefully that does go in their favor, though. Having a shortage of paper, they can probably, utilize these variants for a different convention. We'll see.
Well, maybe.
Hopefully.
Oh, yeah. I had a fun thing happen today. I had a fellow come in that he comes in, he trades with me a lot. He'll come in with like some pretty decent books, and because he'll have something that he sees on our board that he really wants. But he came in looking, he wanted the Comics Pro Spider-Gwen. It's like a $500 book right now.
Is it really this one?
Yep. So
really?
Sure is.
Wow.
You should stop letting the
dogs.
Yeah. So he brought in a couple slabs and a whole bunch of books. I was really happy because I offered a lot of it on tonight's show, and I sold a big chunk of it. So it was kind of like I told him, I said, normally I don't make like trades where I feel like it's kind of an even amount, but I think that it's probably going to be easier for me to have like all the options for people, like sell some of that instead of like have the one thing that's expensive that it'll be harder to find one person that's ready.
Yep, absolutely. And you're absolutely right in that aspect. Yeah, it's easy for somebody to put down $100 a week and buy 5 different items than it is to buy one item for $500.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I just bought some original art, and having that money to hit the credit card right then and there is like, oh my God, how am I going to pay this?
Yeah, that's always tough, and we're in that same space too, where like we've spent so much like extra money that's not a normal expense for us for doing this build out. That we're just like we gotta get this space open.
Trust me, I know how you feel.
Yeah.
I've got a second space that's just sitting there. Well, sitting there full, but so believe me, I understand. And I notice you got our Dalek back there now.
Oh yeah, because when I was on earlier today, people were like, "Where's the Dalek?"
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
I guess I can bring him in, but this rack isn't going to work. I'm gonna have to like build the grid wall on the wall and put the shelves on it. Trying to save myself some tasks. So what is the craziest thing you've traded for other than the NFT? I know you've traded for NFTs before.
I did trade for NFTs. I don't know why I did it.
Do you still do you have it still?
Oh yeah, I still have it. In fact, a couple of months ago, he wrote back. He sends me a message. He goes, "Hey, do you still have it?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, and he's like, "It's worth like $2,000." I'm like, "Okay." I had completely forgotten about it. I have it. I think I got like 5 of them, 4, 5, 4, something like that.
So how did they get? This is me being a dummy. How did they get stored? Where are they?
So these are in the VV or VV. I don't know how they pronounce it. The VEVE app. I think it's pronounced Vive. But anyway, and I get
the trading of them within the app.
Correct. The app has its own marketplace, and in fact, you can buy and sell on eBay. I've seen some of them being sold on eBay directly. And there's actually a Telegram group with about 20,000 people in there doing trades of Vive. So you basically negotiate whatever you want, make whatever trade, and then you can send it to the other person. I don't know if I can show it to you guys on the screen. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let me try it.
I mean, I used to think they were pretty ridiculous as a collectible, but then I was thinking to myself, okay, well, like any collectible, it requires both parties on either side to value it as a collectible.
Correct.
So it doesn't really matter what it is, right? If the two of us really value the same sparkly rock, then it is valuable to both of us.
Exactly.
Some paper that people like drew some pictures on, valuable because we both want it. So it makes sense to me now why these digital things are valuable to people. You just have to have enough people that want to have them.
I mean, look, we had the big tulips, right? Everybody valued tulips so much that they were willing to trade their grandkids or whatever.
Yeah, I actually have a book that I'm super into the behavior of individuals and crowds in the social situations, all driven for kinds of crazy things. But yeah, I've got a book called it's Popular Delusions and Madness of Crowds, and the tulip craziness was I think the first thing that they addressed, because that really was like there were like fortunes made and lost over plants.
Yep, it's ridiculous because the tulip doesn't last more than 2 weeks at most. So I didn't understand the collectability aspect of it there. But it was a bubble. It was something that people were just so hyped into that. I know there was a rumor about somebody trading in their 12-acre land or something like that for one tulip. Not, but there was a story going around for a long time. But here's shoot. Let me see if we can. That's one of them. So I can view it all I want. So
it's like having a 3D action figure almost.
Basically, yes. It's on my, and you're gonna auto rotate. That's one of the ones I have. Here's the other Batman. It's a J. Lee Batman, and in fact, and they have rarities. Both of these figures have rarities. I believe the Becky's are rare, and this is an uncommon. I don't know if you can see that one or not.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
And these are, I believe these are just digital replicas of the black and white figures they have, because these are all black and white figures.
So is that official? Like it's been made by DC, or is it someone that's taken the figure and just scanned it in detail? Now they own the detailed scan.
These are licensed product. In fact,
Okay,
they actually have comic books now as well.
nice.
And of course, they've got rarities and whatnot. And this one's sold out as well. Almost it. So they've got different covers. Different. I don't know if you can see the covers and variants.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yep. And of course, they've got
Nice.
Disney figures. So, but I do agree with you. It's it's the advantage is all those collectibles are in here.
Mm-hmm.
The disadvantage is all the collectibles are in here. I can't sit down and read a comic book in the middle of the day if I want to. We've had these discussions about digital comics versus having them in hand, and there is still that aspect of actually having the comic book in your hand that makes a huge difference. Or like, especially if you have to flip back a few pages, and it's like, hey, didn't I just see this? And going back and forth, it's easier when you have it actually in your hand than it is going on screen. And sometimes panels don't align properly. Sometimes you don't see the entire feel of the comic book. So that you lose that in the virtual world.
And one of my live customers today was talking about. I said I pulled these long boxes out of the back room, and that they hadn't been out for like 4 years, and I was doing just half price on them, and they were going to definitely get deals out of them because in those 4 years, some things have become worth a lot more money. And so he was like, "What do you do with the long boxes when you're done with going through them for this sale? What do you do with them afterwards?" I'm like, "I put them back in rotation because the same thing's going to happen again in 4 years when the stuff in this box is going to become worth more money."
Yep.
He was like, "So you're a hoarder?" It's like, no. Hoarding is when there's no purpose to doing it. But I guess there's some truth to that. It was like, but then
I mean, collecting is technically hoarding. I mean, you're just it's hoarding with a possibility of appreciation, in value at least, in theory at least.
the way I feel about it is that if the whole world just loses it, we all we go backward and start living like cavemen, and no one really trades these things anymore. I can make out of my long boxes. I can make full houses. Just use them like bricks. I can burn them for fuel.
Yep.
I could technically eat them. I can make shoes and clothes out of them.
Yep. In fact, just remembered one of my most regretful trades. You remember back in the 90s when Image first came out, they had those gold editions of Spawn and Wildcats and all those other Image number ones. And of course, I wanted them, but they were tough to get. Back then, they were, $200-$300 each comparatively. So I actually traded away an Amazing Spider-Man 300 for Wildcats number 1 gold edition.
How would you supposed to know? It could have gone the other way. Wildcat could have been in the same popularity as Spider-Man, and Spider-Man could have never been made into anything. It could have been completely the same.
The only reason I regret it is because I worked hard to get the Amazing 300 back in the day. This is when I was a teenager and didn't have very much money, so I worked hard to get that Amazing 300. But of course, who would have known? That's probably one of the reasons why I keep collecting 300 over and over.
You just have a whole bunch stashed around?
I don't have a whole bunch, but I do have probably a handful at least.
That's pretty good. I can't hold on to them longer than like 30 minutes because as soon as somebody knows I have one, then they're like, I sold. Okay. I had one, I guess.
Right.
And then my favorite thing is when people come to the store and say, look at my wall, and they're like, why don't you have any keys? I'm like, because someone beat you here for them?
Right. The problem with not having keys, acquiring keys is one, somebody has to let them go.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't want to let go of the keys right now.
Yeah.
because they keep thinking it's going to appreciate, which could be right, which could be wrong. You never know. And second, like you mentioned, as soon as you get it, somebody else is grabbing it. So sometimes it's right then and there, where it's you're buying it off of one hand and selling it right on the other.
There's some books that I'm like, obviously there's things that have been happening in the world that I was not aware of. Like when this came in today, I was just like, okay, well, it's a long shot number one. Who cares? This is a $400 book. What happened?
That book honestly was a dollar bin book for the longest time.
It totally was.
And I'm sure I've probably got a few boxes of them somewhere. Well, a few in boxes somewhere. But hey, you're right. The market is what it is. It's hard to explain how the comic book market works right now. We can point fingers to where it is, but yeah, it defies logic. Let's just put it that way.
So have you started watching any new shows as you're like still like sad about finishing Bridgerton?
I wouldn't say I'm sad about it. I was more sad that somebody deleted my Netflix profile than anything else.
What?
Oh, that's right. I don't know if you guys know. It was a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I log in and try to go to my profile, and it's not there. I'm like, oh, it's just probably a glitch on our TV. I restart the TV. I reset the Netflix app, and my profile is not there. Somebody deleted my Netflix profile. And I'm just like, why? Of course,
it has to be a family member, right?
Yes, it has to be a family member. Nobody wants to own up to it. And then, I created a new one, and I just started. I'm like, forget it. And now I don't really care for Netflix, except, I'm definitely going to wait for the next season of whatever's out there. We'll see. But it was disappointing just losing all that history I had.
Yeah. I still like it. I don't ever follow the crowd in that regard when everyone's like, well, I'm going to hate on a thing. It's like everyone today is like, I'm going to have to quit Twitter. I was like, if you listened to Elon talk, like go and watch a TED talk that he's done, or just watch the most recent talk that he had about the acquisition of Twitter, or the trying to acquire Twitter. If you actually listen to the man, you're thinking like, this guy's a smart dude and he might be doing the right thing.
Yeah, and that's, again, we go back to how the media treats, how we follow what we hear, what we want to hear. It's unfortunate how we judge prior to actually experiencing.
Yeah, because I think everyone just says Elon's rich, so therefore he must be bad. Yeah. But it was like, Elon's brilliant, and if you spend 2 seconds watching him, you're like going, well, he's clearly and he'll tell you he's got Asperger's, so he's also got that extra talent of being able to hyper focus. And so for him, things are they're either good because they're beneficial, or they're bad because they are not efficient. And so he's always looking to make things more efficient. So I don't think really he thinks about things in terms of oh, look, I have a thing now, and look, I'm special. He's like, this thing's broken and it needs to be fixed.
He does have a little bit of a crazy personality, but who doesn't, right?
Of course.
Let me see what else. I did start watching Tokyo Vice. If you haven't watched that, I'd recommend it. It is a great show on HBO.
Platform?
It's on HBO Max.
Okay.
It is a weekly show. I think they're on episode 6 or 7. I forgot what it is.
Okay.
But it's a really good series. It's about an American reporter who goes to work for a Japanese newspaper.
That sounds interesting.
It is, and it centers around his investigation, the police, the gangsters in Japan and whatnot.
Oh, watch out! The Yakuza will be all up in his business.
Exactly, and that's that is exact, and how they manipulate everything around them. It's it's very interesting. It's I don't know how realistic it is. It might be, it might not be. But if it's if it is real, it gives you a really good insight into how Tokyo operates. I think there's a lot more fiction than there is. Just like any television show, there's a lot more fiction than there is reality. Speaking of which, like the other show I'm watching is the Making of Legend, for whatever, the HBO show about the Showtime Lakers. And
Oh, the one that Rodney Barnes is involved in. I heard that's
yeah,
amazing.
it is a great show, but it is 100. Well, I should say 100% inaccurate, but it is grossly exaggerated. In fact, Jerry West is filing a suit against HBO because of the way they represent him, and a lot of the players are saying, "Hey, this is not how it used to be," because
Right.
it is a drama. You have to look at it from the perspective of, hey, this is just a TV show. This is not reality, and they've done a great job. They have done a very good job in that show, and that's something else I'd recommend people watching.
People should know, even reality TV is just a hyper exaggerated version of what might be the truth.
Absolutely.
So you just have to watch it and be like, these people probably, when I meet them, like when they made, like for cosplay, when they made Yaya Han kind of a bad guy, I was just like going, but that's not who Yaya is. You meet her for 2 seconds in a con and you know she's not a bad guy.
Right. But yeah, it's we unfortunately, again, we believe what we see, unfortunately, and we don't. Media likes to manipulate a lot, unfortunately.
So I've started watching. I'm sure it was a thing forever ago, and I'm way behind. But it's called Mindhunter, and it's basically the formation of the behavioral sciences unit for the FBI, where they look at people and kind of like profile like serial killers.
Yep.
And it's just so cool. I'm sure that it's just like lightly based in reality. I'm sure it's not 100% accurate, but it's just cool because they really do deal in all of those early serial killers, like the Zodiac Killer and Green River, all those things. And it's interspersed along with all of the drama of the actual formation of the group itself. And what I think is crazy is I'm pretty sure that the main older gentleman who's on the team, the actor, I think, played Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, which makes it even more weird for me. She's like, any second, because he has the same kind of like deep voice. I'm just like, any moment, he's just going to show up naked. I'm sure of it.
I'm sure that puts a little bit, that puts a little bit more entertainment into it.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw, like, I could not wait. Like, I think on Friday we got the first available showing we could go see was the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is, I have to say, usually when you watch trailers, you're like, okay, well, I've probably seen all the good parts of this movie, or at least I understand everything that's going to happen. And to their credit, a lot of the stuff you see in the trailers is misdirection or not 100% the order in which you're going to see things, and it's a lot different for the storyline. So it's cool in the movie when you're watching, you're like, oh, thank goodness I'm not going to just like watch a rehash of the trailer. But yeah, it very much lets you know that both of those main actors are still got the chops, man.
Nice.
So good. And very funny.
I'm still not comfortable going to theaters yet, so we'll see. I will have to watch that.
Yeah, I think that they're kind of like moving movies faster into like they'll be able to watch them at home.
Correct. Yeah, Batman was 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I believe.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's gonna be very few movies that are gonna have like a huge audience. They're gonna go much past 3 or 4 weeks, and those people are gonna want to go watch it on the big screen anyway, because they're gonna choose to be like, I want to go watch it on the big screen. You might watch it at home once, and then be like, I'm gonna go to the big movie theater and watch it on the big screen. But for the Batman, I heard a lot of people say that their local movie theater, for some reason, the contrast of the brights to darks was so dark that they couldn't really see much of the movie very well, and so they were happy to be able to see it at home, where they could kind of control that on their TV.
interestingly enough, I have to agree, and that was the problem I had when I was watching it. I I had to watch it. I paused until it got darker because we've got windows, right next to our TV. So,
Oh yeah.
and the contrast was it was just so off. They did make the movie a little bit too dark. I tried to adjust the TV and whatnot, but it didn't help until I waited till the evening to watch it. And I'm not sure if that's something took away from the movie or not. Anyway, that's another story, right?
Yeah. I was so happy with that movie. I'm the most happy that DC had a win in the movie category, right? Because the last one was like Joker or something when people were like talking in a positive way about something that they've made, which makes me sad for the people that work hard on those films.
Yep. And there's a lot of people that work on those films. A lot of people. Yeah, it's. I know. It's like a lot of times you don't see the small things that people do when they're making a movie, and there are times when they work hours and just to make the slightest 1 second of that movie just perfect, just right. And when somebody makes a negative comment on the internet or on one of those critics sites and whatnot, it you never know who it's affecting. It could be the one person that worked on there for a split second. You could be basically hurting their life. You never know.
Yeah, there was a fellow who I think his family lives here, but he lives in LA and he works he does a lot of like high detail digital rendering for film. And I was like, so what? Because he had like a picture that he brought with him. I was like, so what did you work on for? Because he said he worked for Star Wars. He's like, I worked on this scene. It's like a minute or 2 minutes worth of screen time, but it was flawless. I had like months of work.
Yep.
It's like, wow.
And that could have been the best scene in the entire movie too.
Could have been.
But when somebody criticizes that movie, it takes it away from them. And that's one thing. I have a lot of appreciation for people who animate traditional animation, because that requires a lot of work and a lot of dedication.
Some big skill.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever sat down and draw, but when I try to draw, I can never make the same thing twice, ever. Even if I try to, and they're doing this over and over where they're making them move just a slight bit, whatnot, and they're spending years doing something we enjoy or not enjoy. It depends how it is, but usually it's enjoy for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
I am what my husband calls lovingly a tracer.
A tracer.
Tracer. It's like that's one thing Kevin Smith gave us is the term tracer for an anchor.
What else we got? What else did you watch?
That was all I fit in this weekend. I know that we're getting excited for more episodes of Moon Knight. I didn't get to watch the last one. I guess there was a reveal of a new kind of like form of a god. And I think that there's also talking a little bit about warning, this is maybe a tiny bit spoilery, but that because of things they've talked about in the show, it looks like they're kind of making a maneuver to rewrite a little bit of the story origin for Kang.
I will say I see where it's coming from without spoiling, because there is a scene which you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what they're referring to. So there's a possibility. Yes, there is a possibility. For those who have read Kang's story, will get it, because there's history in Kang being certain Egyptian gods or whatnot. So again, try not to spoil it.
If you go spend some time in Google different forms of Kang the Conqueror, you'll see one that will come up that will make things clear.
Yeah.
I think it is interesting. It's like you can talk about stuff like this, and for some people, it would be very spoilery because they know, like they're steeped in the history of the comic book character.
Correct.
But then I think there are a lot of people watching the show, right, that are currently watching it, or like that a lot of those kind of Easter eggs won't be something they recognize until later on, like when he starts showing up for movies and you see his forms and you're like, now I get that moment in that one show.
And that's where I have to tip my hat to Marvel. They've done a good job of trying to satisfy the comic book fans, yet keeping the MCU, the cinematic universe, on its own. It's especially with Moon Knight. Right now, even in episode 4 or 5 they're in, you really don't know who the main character is, the main personality is. Of course, if you read the comic books, you know who it is, and you know the Batman tie-in there.
Yeah.
But we don't see that in the MC, the cinematic universe at least. So I have to tip my hats off to them. They did a good job of that, keeping the comic book guys satisfied and keeping the cinematic universe fresh.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you, there's a movie trailer that they have running now called Men, in which it looks like, and you'll recognize this British actor. He usually plays kind of like the other straight guy police officer, the kind of like looks just like a dad almost. I'm trying to think what other movies he's actually been in that you would recognize him. If you saw him, you would know him right away. But it looks like he gets to have his chance to shine, because it looks like they're going to give him he gets to play multiple parts, kind of like Tatiana Maslany did for Orphan Black. So it looks like the shtick for the film is that this woman, I don't know if this is her house or it goes to someone else's house, and it appears like maybe her husband, who goes upstairs, jumps from the upper floor, and then it gets all discombobulated. Like every single person she meets and talks to in the trailer, if you look at them carefully, is the same guy, just in different makeup.
Interesting.
Like it's like, I don't know, is this a horror film?
It's called Men.
Men.
I will have to look into that one for sure. That's intriguing. That's okay.
And then have you seen the trailer for Jordan Peele's newest?
I have not.
This one's really cool. I've talked to my son also about it. So the trailer starts basically looking like it's going to be the history of this generational family that has trained horses for Hollywood film. They're African American, and it seems like, oh, this is going to be really cool. I like learning about things like this. And then all of a sudden, from the top of the screen comes From Jordan Peele, and then as the creepy music starts, and it looks like it's going to be like an alien, like showing up, like because it's on a big ranch in California, obviously. It's like that. It looks like an alien spacecraft has come down and landed, or maybe not. And then there's like also other creepy creatures that are bebopping around. And it's so funny. This whole time you're watching this trailer, and what you're thinking in your head is what everyone does whenever like a trailer comes out that you're watching, and you're like, at the end of it, you're like, nope. Right? That's what everyone says, nope. The name of the movie? Nope.
Nope.
So perfect. I was like, oh man, I bet he was sitting in a theater once, heard people saying nope, and like, you know what I'm gonna name my next film?
Nope.
Brilliant.
Somebody just needs to just make trailers just for the sake of making trailers. That's it. It's not for a movie or anything. It's just a trailer. That's it. You get the entire story. It's a trailer. Nobody ever. I'm sure somebody's done that already, but yeah,
That
it would be
sounds
nice.
like meta.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
That sounds so meta.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm. I guess there's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. I don't know where it's going to show. I don't know if it's supposed to be a TV thing or what.
Yeah, is it live action or animated?
No idea. Look, it says
Oh.
another Marvel character gets confirmed for the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Question mark?
Interesting.
Oh, it's Disney Plus. It definitely says Disney Plus on it now at the bottom. I see. But
Well, in that case, is it a kind of like a Friends reunion kind of show, or is it an actual episode of a sort?
I don't know. But wouldn't it be funny if it was just like them and their spaceship?
And just chatting away?
someone puts a star on top of Groot, put some lights around him.
Right?
Don't know.
It'll be interesting to watch.
Drax dressed up as Santa. I'm just trying to think, how would that go?
They'll probably give Star-Lord the Santa suit just because of his history with America, with 80s American traditions.
Oh, there you go. All right, so here's the big news I just saw. Said Spider-Man No Way Home, they reported the profit, which is different than how much money that it made in general. So it ended up earning nearly $1.9 billion at the worldwide box office.
That's gross.
Insane. It's insane. So this is the profit. The profit margin was $610 million.
Wow. And that's just off of the showing, or is that because of course there's merchandising and whatnot, and that's probably Disney makes a lot of money off of merchandising. There are times when they'll have a flop and they'll still make more money because of that.
I think they're trying. I think the point of the article is trying to talk about that the movies can still make money. So probably, if I was going to say that if they're going to compare apples to oranges, they probably are talking about just the money that they made from the movie itself, not from ancillary, all the other stuff.
Yep, that's a lot of money. I'm sure Disney's happy about purchasing Marvel Comics.
I mean, it's not going to buy Twitter, but
I'm sure if Disney wanted to, they can work out. No, they can't because they own too much media. That might. Well, you never know. That will be interesting if they do make a bid for Twitter.
This is not a done deal, right?
No, I mean they've sort of accepted it in terms, so we'll see. We'll see if it'll happen. Interestingly enough, he is not really putting down his own money to buy it. Majority of it is money he's borrowing from banks.
Yep. Well, I'm pretty sure he's going to be the first one to make it to an asteroid and start mining rare minerals so he can make more lithium for his lithium batteries for his cars. And it's like, but I'm serious. My sons came home from school one day and they're like, Mom, we're both going to study really hard and we're going to form a company that's the first people to go and mine, like have an actual business that mines the asteroid belt. And I was like, I think that's brilliant. I support you in 100% of the way. And how much can I buy into your company now?
I have, it's probably going to be unfortunate, but I don't know if it's going to happen during our lifetime. Maybe our kids' lifetime, but I don't know if it's going to happen in our lifetime.
I just don't know. It's going to take a long time to like get the things actually mined and then back and then made into something. And I know at least for The Expanse, the series of books that is made into the show, that they just, instead of trying to bring those things back to Earth/Moon/Mars or whatever, the inner planets that are being occupied, they just use the raw stuff out there and they have shipyards out there they're using it for.
Which kind of makes sense, It's
why waste time moving it around?
Yep. But right now we have to get the first step done where we make people comfortable enough to go out into outer space and mine. I know we're working on robots doing it, but we still need people up there. So we'll see.
Know the truth. Let's see if I can find us the comic books for this week. This week, comics, graphic novels. Okay, here we go. Oh, we got a new Spider-Man this week.
We do. Amazing Spider-Man #1 comes out this week.
Who writes this? Ooh, Zeb. That'll be good. So it looks like Peter's on the outs with the Fantastic Four. He's on the outs with Avengers. He's on the outs with Aunt May. No one wants to see Spider-Man except for Doc Ock. And also starting Tombstone.
I wonder if Doc Ock is basically still, trying to take over Spider-Man's. I don't know if he is. The Superior Spider-Man story arc where, he takes over. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that's tied to whatever's happening right now. We'll find out.
Well, I hope they don't circle around and try the exact same thing. Maybe he just realizes that he can do everything he wants to do and not have to take Spidey.
Yep.
And then Thor 24 gets us to a celebration of 750 issues of Thor. And looks like we're probably gonna, I don't know if I can say what happened in the last issue, but or in recent issues. I guess we're past all the spoilers for it because it happened in issue 22, I think. But the Thor needed extra power to be able to defeat the enemy he was fighting, and in order to do that, he's been getting small amounts of extra power from Odin for a long time. Odin's been imbuing him with extra stuff, but because the enemy was so great, Odin basically gave up his life force to Thor to be able to become the form of Thor that he is now, which is awesome. But things have all changed for Thor in the Thor universe because Cates likes to kill things. You should have known he's going to do it.
Yeah, who's he killing in Hulk?
Nobody right now. He's still trying to explain all of the. I think that the new thing that's kind of come out about Hulk is not that Bruce Banner needed gamma radiation to become the Hulk. The reason the Hulk exists is just because of Bruce. It's something about his personality that has made this happen. Which I don't know how they're explaining that, but
yeah, I thought. The whole concept of Hulk and oh my God, Bruce Banner was basically they existed. It's just the gamma radiation made it possible for him to exist.
Yep.
So the concept is theoretically the same now, right? It's still, and of course they've always. How many times have they split the two up? There've been countless times where they've split the two up. So.
Sure. Yeah, I think for some reason I believe in the most recent issue of Hulk, it looks like maybe control over the spaceship Hulk armor has been taken over.
There's a spaceship Hulk armor?
Yeah, Starship Hulk. Yeah, Starship Hulk. Imagine like a giant mech Hulk.
Does Hulk?
Bruce is driving it. But there's a new bad guy that came out of this concept. Okay, everyone close your ears if you don't want to know what happened in the last issue of Hulk. Do you care if I tell you, Brady?
No, not at all. I'm so far behind on my reading that I'll probably forget by the time I catch up.
So, it got really kind of if you like psychology, that's probably the only reason you stuck through Immortal Hulk, because that's kind of what it's about is, digging deep into someone's psyche. But in this case, Cates put out the idea of, Jen Waters has her version of the Hulk, right? General Thaddeus Ross has got his version of the Hulk. So there's all these different people that have gotten their version of Hulk. What if Hulk had his version of Hulk?
Interesting.
Yeah. So then you get a new character, which is super is. I love those kind of like way meta things. You're like, come on.
Wow, that's an interesting take on it.
So anyway, if anyone's watching, you're like going, I was not really interested in reading Hulk until I'm not gonna go back and read that.
Right. No, I still stand by. If you're ever only going to read one Hulk story, make it Hulk the end.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It is a very good story,
Mm-hmm.
especially for when it came out. It came out early 2000s, I believe.
That might be right.
Maybe late 90s, I forgot. But anyway, back to current times.
Also coming out this week is Blood-Stained Teeth #1, Christian Ward image book. And I love this description. Atticus Sloan, misanthrope, criminal, a-hole, and vampire, lives in a world where blood isn't the only thing vamps crave. And for the right price, he'll make you a vampire too. After all, immortality isn't cheap.
Right.
I like that twist on it.
Yep. Hey, we'll buy you immortality.
Mm-hmm. New saga comes out this week. And then Try Not to Freak Out. Last Ronin #5, which rounds out the series that started, 2 decades ago. Pre-COVID.
All right. And that's, was it pre-COVID? I thought it came out during COVID.
Maybe. I just feel like it's been going longer than 2 years, but maybe.
It definitely has been. I think you're right. It was pre-COVID.
It just got way slowed down by everything that's been going on.
And for those that haven't heard, there is the last Transformer now, right? Which is the same concept as Last Ronin.
Yep. Do definitely make sure to talk to your comic shop about it, though, because I don't know that they're going to order as heavily as they would have for if it was a Turtles-based one.
Correct.
Probably based it on how many copies of Transformers they currently sell.
And it's unfortunate that orders already gone through, so.
Yeah. And then for fans of the most recent Godzilla films, there's a one shot that has Godzilla versus King Ghidorah coming out from IDW. Their first one was versus Mothra, so this continues on to these one shots that they've been working on. And Berserker #8. I'm telling you, I don't know if you've seen this too, Brainy, but we have had no slowdown in Berserker pulls. None.
That's what I've heard. It's which is great because at the beginning everybody was afraid because it's got celebrity tie-in, and celebrity books have not done really well in the past. This one's kept its fan base going. It's it is Matt Kent writing it with Keanu Reeves, of course.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to be a good story.
Yeah, they've been doing whatever collaboration they're still doing is really great. It's a slow rollout for the storyline. It doesn't feel like they're dragging it out at all. It just feels like it's a natural progression. I thought they'd for sure immediately go into here, go battle these things for us, and that's all we're going to care about with you. And this is more, I feel about his back history, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it also might be beneficial that Keanu Reeves does have he likes comic books basically. So, it adds to that where he does not just want to make, hey, I want to make a comic book. Let's make something like this and that's it. There have been a lot of books in the past where that's basically what it's been. Hey, the 3-part series and we're done.
Yeah. And also a heads up, it might be something that people miss until after it's too late when specs get a hold of this information. But this issue #8, they've been kind of going backward and backward and backward in time trying to find his origin. You get to hear the secrets of his birth more than 80,000 years ago.
Nice.
So you finally get to his origin, which they've gotten close before, but this one's kind of cool to find out.
80,000 years.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to be alive that long. That's too much.
Hey, talk to Vandal Savage.
There you go. Then Something is Killing the Children 22. Erica, I believe, is going to be pulled back into the fray by a new form of monster that we have not seen before. New character figure. Is another Hellboy tie-in, the British Paranormal Society. Oh, good. The Snyder and Capullo book, We Have Demons, #2, comes out.
Punisher #2 comes out this week as well, which I'm quite interested to see how that one does, because 1 did much better than we expected.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if the momentum stays or whether it was just, again, whether it was #1 spec call or whatnot. So let's see how #2 does.
I know that for #1 there was an awful lot of verbal people saying that they weren't gonna like it already because they don't like the chess symbol change.
Correct.
But then I think people probably actually settled themselves down and actually read it, and they were like, "Oh, this makes sense."
Yep. And again, going back to what we said earlier, people jump to conclusions without actually giving something a try, and that's a perfect example of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a cool new Aftershock book called Naughty List.
That seems very interesting.
So I'll give you the pitch for it. It says, I had a family once, a wife who loved me, a child who loved together. It's all gone now. It's been gone for hundreds of years. All because of that darn star. My name, it depends upon where you live. Some call me Chris Kringle, others Papa #1. But my real name is Nicholas Sinterklaas. And is the story of what happens when you steal my naughty list.
This is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I have a friend that stayed they moved to the Netherlands for a long time, and so I'm used to the Sinterklaas name. It's kind of cool.
They have been a lot of stories done, alternate Santa basically stories. So, and there have been some really good ones as well.
Such good ones.
Yep.
Trade paperbacks. We get Spider-Gwen, which collects from Spider-Gwen 16 through 23 plus collects Spider-Man. That means Spider-Man book with Miles, I think, 12 to 14.
Yep.
And then you've got the Golden Age Lock and Key hardcover. This one looks really cute. There's a little manga coming out from Dark Horse Comics called Cat Gamer.
Interesting. Is it about cats playing video games or?
It says Rico, a 29-year-old office worker with an obsession for video games, finds her quiet life upended when she takes in a stray cat. Her coworkers can't quite figure her out. She never talks about her personal life. She never works overtime, and she never joins them for happy hour. Is she antisocial? Nope. She's rushing home to play video games. One day, a stray cat is found in the office parking lot, and before Rico knows it, the cat has moved in with her. Having no experience with pets, Rico uses lessons drawn from video games to guide her in cat care.
Oh, that is cool.
That's really cute.
That is a cool premise. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. What else have we missed? Ms. Jen, one of the problems we have is since we are ordering direct from some publishers, there are times where it's hard to identify whether we're getting the book earlier than other people or
later
late or whatnot. So I'm going down our list. I'm like, wait, is this new this week or is this something we should not discuss until it comes out in 2 weeks?
Well, this is what I think I figured out. Is that early on, before paper shortage, we were definitely getting them earlier because they were getting their stuff directly to them and they were getting them to us. Yep. But what has happened now is because of the paper shortage is that they're sending the bulk of their books directly to the distribution channel, which is like Diamond or, Lunar or wherever else it's coming out from. And then the rest of the books are kind of like that it got split off from that big order are coming to them. And those are always, or they're often being delayed. Like in the case for Red 5, who's local to us, they still don't have their stuff that was released like 3 or 4 weeks ago. We still don't have the one that's about the big semi truck. Has a start. The name starts with a number, and I can't remember what it is because I haven't got to read it yet. But yeah, it's gonna. I don't know. I don't know if people are paying close enough attention to release dates to really be like, oh man, I'm gonna go get this somewhere else. I think that most people are like, they are used to getting their books from their local comic shop, and they're just like, it'll show up.
Yeah.
In my box.
In fact, we learned that Saga was interesting where we were shorted all our, was it 56 or 55? And I was surprised how many people actually stuck around for it. I know there were a few that actually, went elsewhere to get it, which is fine. We actually expected everybody to go elsewhere to get it once we find out that we weren't getting it. So, but yeah, you're right. People are actually understanding the concept that, hey, if it's being shorted at one, it's probably shorted at almost every other store as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're willing to wait. And a result of that is also our Wednesdays are not as busy as they used to be.
Yeah,
it is. It's
more spread out.
You can no longer say Wednesday's the biggest thing. It's cool. I think it's a plus because it spreads everything out. It makes it a little bit easier on staff. It makes it a little bit easier on cash flow as well sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right. Anything else? I think we've gotten to our hour mark and used up all the news that's worth newsing about.
I'm sure we missed a few things. We tend to do that a lot.
I'm sure everyone else is like, well, you missed the biggest news story of the day.
Right.
That's because we're working in retail. We miss a lot of things.
Right. And we usually don't find out until like a week or two later. It's like, oh yeah, that happened. That's not true, but
I find out when I go home and thumb through my social media feed. It was like, oh, that's what everyone was talking about today, I guess.
Right, exactly. There've been so many times where I've done like, oh yeah, huh? Now it makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you probably heard my phone buzzing while we were having this conversation.
Well, I don't know the thing to read. There are lots of great sponsors for this show, and really appreciate them. You can watch us in a bunch of different media.
Yep.
Please search them out, enjoy them, including KQ TV over the air on Roku and other versions of media.
Anywhere where podcasts are available.
That's right. A bunch of podcasts you can hear us. I know that a lot of people, I hear that there's a lot of people that partake of us on that media because they don't want to see our faces, which is great.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I don't want to look at myself either.
But we're super thankful for your time and spent listening to us chitter chatter. Sometimes we have more actual news than other times, but we're always telling you about our real lives in the comic book business.
This is more reality than reality TV, guys.
So we're not making anything up. We really do go through all of these crazy things in our industry.
Yes, we do.
All right, for me and Brainy and Justin, who's behind the scenes, we'd like to say thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.